I'm Jason Aponte. That's Dieter Kurtenbach of KMBR and the San Jose Mercury News. We are going to be talking about the Christian McCaffrey news and what the 49ers' keys to victories are. Dieter, I'm kind of disappointed. I ordered my Michael Williams jersey in time so I could wear it for this show with you, just speaking about our jersey talk, and it just didn't make it. So I
Child
settled. Yeah,
wearing the uniform of a child.
yeah.
That's
I
fine.
just said,
You want to wear like a Michael Crabtree jersey or a Patrick Willis jersey. I'm not going to age you here. Like that makes sense. Steve Young jersey, like wheelhouse, right? Michael Williams. Actually, I'll make an exception. I think Michael Williams is sick, and he's a full-grown man. He feels older than all of us, yet he's brand new.
that's why I mentioned him because you're so high on him and everything. But I
Yeah,
settled on the Hawaiian shirt, button down and
nice.
everything. All right,
Nice. The exact opposite
opposite.
of a jersey. The Hawaiian shirt, like only people who wear Hawaiian shirts are people who know their age, know and have moved on from fashion. Just wear the
De-
Hawaiian shirt.
Dieter, you're picking up exactly what I'm putting down. But
Yeah,
let's start with
is Christian McCaffrey going to be putting down feet in
yeah.
Seattle?
Oh my God, is it time for us to just crack each other's heads open and feast on the goo inside and just panic?
No, probably not. Actually,
Okay.
I'm going to be an optimist here.
Oh
Okay, let's all take a moment,
yeah.
acknowledge it. Listen, no one has ever said that he was like clear of a bilateral Achilles tendonitis. This was always going to be a thing that was just sort of omnipresent, probably in his life. And when you play football, even in practice, stuff's going to tighten up, stuff's going to loosen up, stuff's going to get sprained. I would venture to say that Christian McCaffrey, and it's a shame that Kyle Shanahan, that this injury report came out after Kyle Shanahan did his KMBR hit. It's a shame that McCaffrey didn't talk to the media yesterday. My guess, don't bank on this. It's a guess because I haven't heard any alarm bells going off anywhere. Definitely don't see any fires in these group chats that I'm in that every now and again show something interesting. My guess is that Christian McCaffrey is on a veterans practice schedule from here on out. That's my guess. And that, yeah, he's limited, but there's a difference between limited because we don't want you to go and limited because you can't go. And I would venture to say that they're just being cautious about it because what's the point of really pushing it? He knows the plays. He doesn't need to run anymore. Make sure that everything's A-okay. And I guess we'll find out today if that hunch is accurate or not. Because if he's limited again today and we get no explanation really beyond oh yeah, something happened in practice. Like if that's what's explained, then yeah, sure, we can all freak out. But in the meantime, with no information, I do think that we have to venture into the Hanlon's razor territory. Never attribute to malice what could be explained by stupidity, or in the case of Kyle Shanahan, never explained by injury what can be explained by taking her easy. And I think we're at the take her easy mode of the preseason / regular season.
Yeah, and we're about 35 minutes from the team taking the field, so we're going to
Yeah.
find out whether he's on the field, and then
We'll
Kyle
know.
Shanahan will speak, and then Kyle
Right.
Shanahan will be able to speak. So we'll
So we
get
picked a
some
great
clarity.
time for this podcast.
Absolutely, like we might be able to break the news on here. Look at us.
Maybe.
Yeah, this is a good idea.
I mean, but here's the thing: if McCaffrey's on the field, does that change anything? If he's not on the field, that changes everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if he's on the field, does that assuage anyone's fears about this calf injury thing? It's a lot of PTSD out there, and I'm not saying it's not justified, but it does feel as if we've already gone from 0 to 100. Perhaps that's the case, but again, like there is a reasonable explanation that doesn't limit Christian McCaffrey, pardon the pun, limit Christian McCaffrey at all for Sunday, which is like, yeah, the dude's had these injuries for the last 2.5 years. Like, we're not going to be pushing him on a Wednesday before Seattle. The same way we don't practice Nick Bosa, the same way we don't practice Trent Williams, the same way we take her easy with George Kittle. That might not all be perfectly reflected in the injury report, but like they're being honest in the injury report. If you want to believe that, I think that you're in good standing. If you want to believe that everything's on fire and he is not going to play, like you're also in good standing. We don't know, but I do think that not presenting the reasonable, or I guess the less dramatic explanation is somewhat important here.
I think it's just twofold, right? It's one, obviously the PTSD from the injury, right? Like last year, it just feels like, again, right before week one, we kind of got this news, and then all of a sudden Jordan Mason starting against the New York Jets. And
Yeah.
two, of all the years under Kyle Shanahan, 2025 is the one season in which George Kittle, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Christian McCaffrey, Diamador Lenore, Brock Purdy, Trent Williams, none of them can miss extended time. They have to lift this roster.
You could argue that last year was, and again, we saw firsthand. And I mean, I made the case before last year. I'm like, you don't have anyone to back. You have no reasonable backups. In fact, the McCaffrey situation was the most reasonable of all the situations because you had Mason. And I suppose now you can make the same argument because you have Brian Robinson, who is just different Mason. So, yeah, no, it's a stars and scrubs roster. It's going to be like that for a while. It's probably going to be like that in perpetuity because of the quarterback. And it's really upon the Niners to have built up some serious depth. But, like, they have 19 guys they've drafted in the last 2 years. I think 16 of them will be counted on to be serious depth or start in this game. Like, the foundation hasn't been set yet. They might have poured the concrete, but it hasn't cured. So I'm with you 100%. Like, you can't afford to miss any of these guys, and we'd be starting off on a great foot if Christian McCaffrey is in fact cooked.
Yeah, it's a Jimmy's and Joe's roster, right? Like and the reason that I said that is just because at least last year there felt like there was at least more reasonable depth, on the roster.
They had more veterans. Those guys sucked. That's they had more veterans. Yeah.
There you go. That's perfect. There you go. But this year, we're asking this core group of high-end talent to do the heavy lifting while we figure all the rest of this stuff out. And that should be enough to put us in position to win a bunch of games. And hopefully by the end of I keep, transitioning.
No, but like hopefully, you're not wrong. Like that's the path they've laid out. Their path is concrete. The veterans, the great players, the all-pro caliber players, or at least Pro Bowl caliber players, are going to hold it down for the first 8, 9, 10 weeks, okay? Then they're probably all going to be injured. And by then, the kids are going to be in the situation where they can now pick up some of that slack. But they're going to need that time to pick up that slack. That is a very narrow band for success, right? And we saw again last year exactly what it looks like when that one path doesn't work out. But like, that's Kyle Shanahan to a T. This is not a guy who adapts. This is not a guy who adjusts mid-game. No one puts it on paper better than Kyle Shanahan. But Mike Tyson will tell you that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And when the Niners had a preponderance of talent compared to their peers, they were the punchers. And this team is going to have to, and there will be games where they're the punchers, and they just dominate from start to finish because they have more talent than the other team, because their game plan is better than the other team, because their coaching is arguably better than the other team. In that game, it would be. But there are also going to be games where they're going to have to pull it out of their ass every now and again. Can Kyle Shanahan do that? Can Brock Purdy, who has had really tough goes in clutch situations, I think on the whole, I still think he's a clutch player, or at least I think he has it in him to be a clutch player. But I think the evidence points to somebody who is not clearly somebody that you trust in those late game situations. Like, can they figure it out? Can Robert Saleh adapt? Can they find guys who have that clutch gene? That's where it gets funky because it seems like they're already having to react, right? Their entire preseason was about figuring out ways to put together a 53-man roster with what they realized was not a nice talent pool to build a 53-man roster. And I don't think they got all the way, but they did a decent enough job with some trades and obviously some injury luck coming back around on the back end to put a 53 together. But if this McCaffrey thing is the worst case scenario, now you're in a crazy adjustment period from the jump. And this is not a team that I want playing from behind mentally or on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I agree. But you know what? I'm going to push back a little bit on the Kyle Shanahan's not adjusting thing. I think he's playing mind games with McDonald now. Hey, he's hurt. We're not using him. This is 5D chess that he's playing here. Like, no, I'm just funny about that.
Another reasonable possibility with the lack of any solid explanation. And again, we might not even get a solid explanation. We're just not going to know until 1 o'clock. Or I guess we'll probably know if he's not out there on the field around 11 Pacific time. But we're just not going to know until the game starts. And there's a lot of things this season that you don't really know until the game starts. So just, I guess, add this to the fire. But if he doesn't play or if he's not himself, that changes the fundamental paradigm for the 49ers at the start of the season. I mean, he is their first, their last, their everything. He's their matchup getter. he is fundamental to the offense in the same way that Deebo Samuel back in the early 2020s was fundamental to the offense. And then they needed to bring in McCaffrey because people figured out that you could beat Deebo with man-to-man. So what do you do then? You bring in Christian McCaffrey, go please play man-to-man. Well, now you're trying to, maybe this is late-stage Deebo, which is still a great player, but mentally, now you need somebody else who can be that matchup killer, and I don't see one on this roster currently, which means that it's on Brock, to elevate his game to being like a 4,200, like 2023 all over again, the alpha of all alphas. And I think Brock has it in him to do it, but he'll have to do it for 17 games, and it's not going to work out in all of them. And that's the paradigm shift. You're playing from behind to start a season. Not a great spot to be if you're Kyle Shanahan, where you want everything to go perfectly according to plan because you already scripted this thing out on Tuesday and Wednesday, and you had every contingency accounted for, except for all the ones that actually show up on Sunday.
Dieter, this is the third episode of Dieter and Jason, and it's doing very well. People seem to be enjoying our content, and you literally are reading my mind because this was the segue into Keys to the Victory, right?
Yeah.
Did some digging, and I wrote an article on NinersNation.com. Don't yell at me. I didn't make up the name. I just work for them.
I got nothing wrong with Niners Nation. It's not the people who.
Oh, it wasn't you. It's the people in the comment that are going to say like, "Oh, it's not. We're not a nation. We're an empire." I didn't make up the name. I don't care. Okay. Yeah, it's not that.
I don't even engage with that. I'm sorry, that alliteration doesn't work for those people.
Right, like I didn't make it up. I just work for the place. Like they just pay me to write for them.
I thought you were being
a
little precious about like, oh, it's a fan site. I'm like, I don't care. Yeah, fan sites are great. Like I've written for fans. Fan sites are fantastic. The entire notion of like the capital M media or the capital J journalist being like anti-fan site is fucking stupid. I find listen to this, Jason. I find that pretentious.
Dita's out of heated today.
People who think that I'm pretentious and arrogant, and to be fair, they're not 100% wrong. Like, let me tell you, there is a level of pretension beyond what I'm willing to accept, and it's people who shit on fans, who, by the way, are paying all of our salaries on this end. So, okay, that's a pointless aside.
No, you're good. No, the reason that I bring it up is because I wrote an article crunching the numbers on
NN.com. Yeah.
NN.com. Yeah, let's just call it that. That's beautiful because I'm just tired of getting yelled at for a name that I didn't come up with. It's crunching the numbers against what the 49ers struggled against defensive coverage wise. Yeah. And the turnover worthy plays spiked last season against cover 0, cover 1 man, cover 2 man. No shocker based on the fact that there's a few things at play here. One, Brock Purdy says, I need to stop forcing the ball and I need to play a little bit more in structure and take what the defense is giving me. 2, no separation from anybody really in this wide receiver room, right?
Until Pearsall came along late last year.
Yeah. Exactly. Protection issues at times because cover 0 is sending everybody and it's taking away those short routes and then those longer developing routes don't have a chance to get there. Correct. All of those things were there, right? So now we're talking about Christian McCaffrey possibly being limited or not playing on Sunday. It starts to get scary because Mike McDonald and Steve Spagnuolo are the reason that other teams in 2024 said, you know what? We want you to beat us this way because we don't believe that you have the separators and you don't have that X guy, right? And that could possibly be the case on Sunday. Dieter, are you as afraid as I am of Seattle just saying, Mike McDonald being like, go ahead, we want Juwan Jennings to try to beat us one-on-one from X. We'll take our chances with Pearsall at these chances. And if you have no McCaffrey and Brian Robinson is kind of telegraphing that it's going to be run on 1st and 2nd,
totally.
And now we're starting to get into a place where we're comfortable.
You're getting into a place where you're predictable, which is death on offense. Yeah. And the Seattle defense is at its best inherently unpredictable. Think Brian Flores, think Gannon in Arizona. So there's about 15 different ways I can go off of this. Let's start with this. I'm not sure Juwan Jennings is going to be playing X. I think Pearsall is going to be at the X because they know the game plan now, which is their teams are going to play man against you. You have to prove you can beat them in man. Their best chance to beat man is having Pearsall at X on a lot of crossing routes and really mixing it up. I think Seattle in particular is susceptible to that, not because they have great corners. I really like their corners. I really like their secondary, but their linebackers are useless in pass coverage, right? They are gap shooters. They are guys who work north, not even really south, and they definitely don't go east, west, or anything in between. So they're just bone crushers, and that's great if you are running outside zone run against them, because you don't have the heft up front, which was another issue that the Niners had last year, which is that they just couldn't use 2 tight end sets, which is what's necessitated, as the Rams showed them years ago when they went to a 5-man front. Now you're seeing a lot of teams doing 5-man fronts, including the Niners, I imagine. On Sunday, I saw them practicing it with Jordan Elliott at end. That should be fun.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Okay. So, quick aside, during one of the training camp practices, they ran a lot of 5-man fronts, and it was clearly Saleh just trying to drill it in. I don't have the notebook with it, with the exact formation, but it was with the way that the personnel was working that day, they had Jordan Elliott working on one of the ends in a 5-man front, which is interesting. It's an interesting wrinkle.
That's one word that I would use to describe it.
Yeah. And listen, that could just be simply like, Jordan, you got to stand in there because Nick's not working today, and we're going to play Huff in this situation. But my guess was actually, Jordan Elliott doesn't really do anything that you want someone who plays defensive tackle to do. He's just a gap shooter and a big man. And if you're going 5-man front, that's just straight up head on head. That actually could work. The more that I've kind of marinated in it, the more I'm like, that's not the craziest idea. It's not exactly a positive comment on Jordan Elliott, by the way, go Missouri Tigers, but it's something. And we've talked ad nauseum now at this point about how Seattle is going to be running a Kubiak offense, literally a Clint Kubiak offense. So the
with 5-man
with a fullback, with Oots, the 5-man front could be the defining factor in this game for both teams, because the Niners need to stop the run. You know what Seattle's going to run. You know that they're going to be pretty vanilla, all things considered. First game with Sam Darnold at quarterback, first game in a new coordination situation. Their receiver situation is of question. I think Horton is great. I think Cooper Kupp is exactly what you need schematically because he's such a great blocker downfield. Obviously, JSN is fantastic, and they're going to be moving him around the formation. But you're not pushing it. You're not getting razzle dazzle here. They're just going to try to run the ball down the 49ers' throat, because why wouldn't you? They sucked at it last year. They sucked at stopping the run. They were arguably the worst reasonable team in the NFL. There were certainly worse teams, but the worst team with any semblance of
expectations.
Yeah, I mean, or just class, right? We expected anything, and they gave us nothing. I would run it down their throat repeatedly. So Saleh, I think, will throw the 5-man front. We'll see if it works or not. Seattle's going to do it because their entire offense or defense is predicated on chaotic fronts. Last year, they ended up as the top team in the NFC with cover zero. How many snaps of cover zero they played? They want to do a 1 high safety most of the time, but they'll play a lot of cover zero. It wasn't even Minnesota, who you just think of as cover zero. It was actually Seattle, and that was a late season surge, which happens to coincide with their late season surge on defense, because they finally got decent enough defensive linemen to be able to hold some gaps, particularly the edge on the outside. And their linebackers finally got figured out, and their secondary was still awesome. So you can play that cover zero in kind of an inverse manner to what Minnesota does. But Brock Purdy has some real issues with that. And I think Kyle Shanahan has some real issues with that. Not only does it put a tremendous 6 or 7 guys on the line, which then gives them the opportunity to really shut down outside zone, forcing you to play a lot more gap stuff in the run game, which early in the season you're probably not keen to do because it's not foundational to your offense. But on top of that, it really muddies up the looks for Brock Purdy. And frankly, it muddies up the looks for Brock Purdy, who's looking to do what Kyle Shanahan wants him to do repeatedly. And if you're playing man-to-man behind that and everything is muddied while playing in man-to-man, that's a hard thing to figure out if you don't have guys with separation. So Pearsall has to be dominant in this game against a great secondary. That's a big question mark. I question if they can run outside zone, regardless of who the running back is in this one. And I question if Kyle Shanahan's going to be willing to counter going into a game, right? To see a scheme understand what's coming and say, hey, we're going to throw this at you. I mean, he can certainly do it in season. His Tuesday, Wednesday plans are as good as it gets. His week over week adjustments are fascinating, but he does want to establish a baseline. He's done this repeatedly, 9 years now. In September, he wants to establish a baseline. And you just have to think back to the Jets game last year. They didn't do squat. They just ran the ball. They just found Sauce Gardner and they said, we're running at you until you stop us. And they never stopped them. So they just did it all game long. And then for the rest of the season, they just never were able to get back to that because, well, it was all about trying to reestablish that sort of first foundational thing, and they could never get past stage one. And so the offense could just never really thrive. And for all the reasons that you and I have already listed off here, beyond just the basics of teams are better equipped now and better tactically situated now to play against outside zone runs. And the 49ers offensive line in particular last year, especially with all the moving parts, weren't keen to play a lot of gap or even trap stuff last year. So I'm really interested to see how Kyle's run game develops. If you're seeing guards pulling, if you're seeing a lot of wham blocks, which I know is a baseline of outside zone now in this day and age, but I still think is a nice wrinkle on top of what he usually wants to do, which is everybody slide left, everyone slide right. Bringing a wham block on the backside is going to be interesting. Like, I think they're going to be in a ton of 12 personnel. I think they might be in a lot of 22 personnel. But if Kyle wants to go into 22, into 12, 12, and also throw some gap stuff at it, I think that could be really interesting. I'm just not sure he will. And I don't know how, Christian McCaffrey can turn whatever that game plan is into the best version of it because he's going to get more than what's blocked for him. Brian Robinson doesn't. That doesn't mean that he's not a good back. It just means that he's getting you the 4 when there's 4. And it means he's getting you 20 when there's 20. It also means he's getting you 0 when there's 0. And McCaffrey is one of the best in maybe the history of the NFL in taking an extra 3, in taking an extra 60, in taking an extra 2 when there was none to be had. And I cannot wait to see what that looks like, because this should be the year that Mike Macdonald's defense is fully actualized. I don't think it's going to be fully actualized in week 1 because they're still going to try to be establishing their baselines. They're going to be trying to establish their foundations. They're not going to want to get funky with it off the jump because their baseline should beat the 49ers baseline. So who wants to adapt off of that first, and who's more willing in game to adapt off it if one side is getting an advantage on the other? If you're a football nerd, this is about as good as it gets, and it would only be better if this was week 7 or 8 and somehow these teams were healthy, because then you would have an offense and a defense that better know themselves.
Sample size.
I'm really concerned with how little offensive practice the Niners were able to get going into this game, because, again, the baseline for Seattle is chaos, and it's not even their best version that we're going to see on Sunday, I imagine. And that's still enough to kind of whoop the Niners' ass, frankly.
A few things, honestly. So this is exactly what the 49ers have been trying to prepare for all offseason by setting up the run defense, right? Setting the edge. This is the game to do it because of the outside zone and what they plan to do with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. This is exactly what this team, if everything that you've done this offseason is about fortifying this run defense, you can show it right here in week 1 right away, right?
100%.
Right? So that's the first thing. The second
You're
thing,
getting clean looks against it, right? Like, that's the thing. It's everything I just said for Kyle in not wanting to be funky, like that, and McDonald in the same way, even though it's inherently funky. The same thing, even more so with the Seattle offense. They're not going to, you don't know what they are yet, but you should, if anyone should have a pretty good idea what the 49er or what the Seattle offense is going to be going into week 1. It's Kyle Shanahan, who taught the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, not everything, because his dad was pretty good too, but a hell of a lot over the years. And by the way, in Bob Saleh, I know that it's a little bit preceding, but the foundation of the 49ers defense, let's not forget that Clint Kubiak was on the defensive side when he first came onto the 49ers staff. And so he understands all the things that a Bob Saleh defense, at least at its core, wants to do. So there's no mystery here. I think you're 100% right. Like, you say you can stop the run. This is your best chance of the year to do it, because it is just what I want. It's an NBA game. I'm going to run what I want to do. You're going to run what you want to do, and we'll see who wins at the end. and we'll adapt from there. But there's no like bespoke game plans in general here. This is two teams trying to establish baselines off of what it is they believe their identities on offense and defense are to be.
100%. And this comment by 49ers throwback, that's why Jason hated the week 1 game matchup. I cannot stand this. And let me explain. Yeah. I hate week 1 games in general. They're the hardest to predict on the entire season. You know, like the Patriots beating the Bengals last season. You know, who the hell would have seen that coming, right? Yeah. But, you know, it doesn't necessarily correlate to anything that's going to happen for the rest of the season. But the other thing is, under Kyle Shanahan, only in 2023 has this 49ers offense come out immediately guns blazing like they did against Pittsburgh.
That's right.
Every other time that the 49ers have had an opening game under Kyle Shanahan, they may have won the game, but you have never sat there and said, whoa, they're out of the gates right away rolling. 2019 in Tampa Bay jumps out, right? That game, they win because Jameis Winston gifts them a bunch of interceptions and they hang on there at the end, right? Yeah. You know, 2020, we want to talk about it against Arizona. Okay, no training camp, COVID, let's throw that one out, okay? 2021, if I'm not mistaken, is the Jimmy Garoppolo year after that, and they probably lost that game, if I'm not mistaken, as well, too.
I don't recall because I've tried to erase my memory of that year.
I don't blame you. But this is the hard part, Dieter, about this, is the 49ers generally, because they don't necessarily play their offense much, they don't start right away hot. And even last year, I loved you pointing out to that.
Sorry, Jason. You will remember this game.
I will.
The first game of 21. The Lions.
And what happened in that game? And they almost came back. Right, exactly.
I'm sorry,
okay.
You were making a salient point and you were agreeing with me. I should never interrupt that.
No, you're good. I and it's funny because I had done the math in my head, right? Like, and then, you know what, it was 2022 is Trey Lance in the rain. You know, and then 2023 is Trey Lance in the rain, right?
Yes, 23 is Lance in the rain.
No. 2023 is the Steelers. 2022 is Trey Lance in the rain.
Yeah, you're right. But but you think about that 23. That was Brock coming off the injury, and credit to Kyle on this. That was Kyle saying, I know that the kid can sling it. I know that he's fine. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what it is they want to do. They're coming at you. They're going to stop that run. Good luck to you after that. And it was, who was the crappy old corner?
Patrick Peterson.
It was Patrick Peterson. It was like, we're going to kill Patrick Peterson. So good luck to you.
Sorry, I need to finish my coffee here. So the way I was going with this is, I despise week 1 games. I despise a week 1 divisional game when you have to win divisional games to make sure that you're shoring yourself up to get into a playoff matchup. And coupled with the fact that Kyle Shanahan's offenses under the 49ers don't come out starting fast, and there is a little acclimation period, topped that off with the fact that the 49ers have to start this year winning games immediately. We cannot be looking up in week 4 and week 5 saying, well, they're about to turn the corner. You know, they're getting there. They're rounding into shape. They've got to be rolling right away. Now, I couldn't think of a worse matchup defensively, X's and O's against offense, where the 49ers could like come out against, right? Like, this isn't, I want to point this out to 49ers fans. When you look at the Seattle defense and you say, this is what they were all year, okay, but you're losing the context of where they were finishing the season. And sometimes trends can tell you more than an entire sample size. When that defense was rounding into shape at the end of the year, now you add extra talent. I think you have to take that for more of what they will be in 2025 than overall what they were in 2024 earlier in the season. Now, couple all those things with the fact that Mike Macdonald on Christmas laid out a masterful game plan that Steve Spagnuolo took to the max in the Super Bowl, and then everyone in 2024 kind of just ran at the 49ers. All of this stuff is just making me like agitated. Like, you know, again, and then the last thing I'll throw onto it, these divisional games, they're all so weird all the time, which is why, which is why Arizona finds a way to beat the 49ers every so often. And you look up and you're like, how the hell did that happen? So this game is going to be muddy, icky, annoying, heart racing, and you're going to be going through it the entire time because no team is going to pull away from each other. Schematically, they know each other. You know, obviously the rivalry is another thing, but this week 1 like matchup, like you said, I really wish it was going to be in week 7, week 8, because then we'd know so much more about what these teams are. And week 1 is the hardest to predict in the NFL, easily.
I would say that for a Niners fan, they probably wouldn't want it to be week 7 or week 8 on the basis of then you would have even more injuries than you have now, just by nature. I suppose your younger guys would be more integrated, but would they be fully fledged yet? Probably not. And the concern that I hate the week 1, week 18 bookending of this. I'd much prefer a Cardinals where you get him in week 3, you get him in week 11. That's a more realistic or a more fair representation of both teams. 18 might not matter for one or both of the teams. Week 1 is a feel it out game. So there's a reason that in college you start the conference schedule 3 or 4 weeks in, right? Like that there's a reason that happens. You want to, yes, you're going to have some wear and tear, but you also want to have some idea of your identity. The flip side of this is all like, this is probably as easy as you're going to get the Seattle defense, barring injuries. Like, we don't know what the injury situation is going to be for any team. I guess maybe we can guess with the Niners, but like, you don't know how much better Seattle can get on defense, right? This is supposed to be their year where I think they have a chance to be the best defense in the NFL this year. And I wasn't the biggest Nick Emanwari fan when we were talking about the draft for the 49ers. Because I thought, he's a bit of a freelancer. I don't think he sees it, all these things. But you can't deny the physical skills. Like, you are in awe of the flashes that he put on tape at South Carolina. And then you think to yourself, what happens when you have Witherspoon on one side and Emanwari on the other? Like, now you're talking about a Marlon Humphrey, possibly Kyle Hamilton situation.
Chess piece. That's, oh my God. I'm so afraid of him.
Be happy you're seeing this in week 1 where they're just not going to throw him. In theory, could not, where this kid is going to be swimming, right? Because it's like, oh, you're in a chaos defense and you're the chaos agent. Like, I'd imagine they'd want to keep it simple, ease him in on that if he even plays. But down the line, when he's either called upon because of injury or because they feel like he's got a good grip on this thing now, there's a chance for that to be insane, like elite, like, oh my God, there's no way of beating this. And so, yeah, be happy that this is happening in week 1. Also, the Niners, if you wanted to play a chaos agent defense, you want as much time to think about it as possible and to look at all the possible permutations. So you're getting the least chaotic version and you've had the most time to prepare. I'm not saying it will be, if Kyle doesn't have wrinkles, and I don't know one way or another if he will or he won't. I guess I'm just on baseline guessing that he won't, because that's not how he has done it in the past. But if Kyle doesn't have wrinkles for this, that's a concern. That's a concern for me, because he should have a counter move ready to go. Maybe not the first or second drive, but those counter moves should be holstered because they should have had time to think about it, to integrate it. And this is where the lack of practice with Jennings, with really any receiver other than Pearsall, with an offensive line, because Pooney hasn't been practicing, because Barch hasn't been practicing, with whoever the hell's at running back. This is where that lack of practice is really concerning. And it just puts more and more on Brock, which I guess you just roll with, because, hey, you get paid like that. You got to carry those extra loads.
Yeah, 100%. Dieter, I don't know if you saw, make sure you're by the phone. Apparently, you are a San Francisco 49er, and you're replacing Colton McKivitz. Ryan, with the... Good.
I'll say this. As a former offensive lineman, I will always defend the offensive lineman unless you're just killing me. And there are plenty of guys who you're just killing me out there. Jake and I on the Dieter and Hutch show always talk about the crazy. Right. And that is a requisite to be an NFL player, is that you have to have the crazy. And people might think I talk crazy. People might think that these takes are too hot. This guy's off the reservation. I did not have, and I still don't. So take this for what it's worth. I do not have the desire to take another man's soul. Never have, never will. I'm one of probably 100 people on the planet built in the womb to play left tackle in the NFL.
100%.
6'9". I carry 310. I work every day to be under it, but I carry 310 and I could be 325. I mean, easy. I got the lateral foot speed. Do I have the explosion? Not really. I would never made the league or anything. But I showed up at a couple of Big 12 practices. Did not have the ability to take a man's soul, and that is immediately a cutoff. I mean, they just said you got to go. Like we can't do this anymore. We thought it was a good idea. It turned out not to be a good idea. This man doesn't have the ability to take another man's soul. Go talk into a microphone. They called me some other names, but I'm not going to drop them. I'd like you to be monetized after all of this.
No, I appreciate it. And Ryan Reed, thank you for the donation, buddy. Jason, stop giving Seattle credit. Too much impartial analysis. Niners are going 17-0 and hoisting the Lombardi at Levi's. That's what the fans want to hear. You know what? I got news for you. Not 17-0, 20-0. Unfortunately, like straight up,
or even worse, 19-1.
Yeah, you know what's funny, and this is, we'll get back to the football talk. Alec Parker says, "Bro, are you 6'9"?" So I met Dieter at training camp, and that's the first time that we've ever spoken and everything. Yeah. And I'm 6'5". This man towers over me, and he crushed my hand, just shaking my hand, and he wasn't even trying to crush my hand. Like it's just, I have, hey, listen. It's just a man's grip, that's it. But yeah, that was the first time that I
got a lot of practice with my right hand. I'm married now, so I guess I get even more practice.
Jesus, we're never gonna be monetized at the end of this one. All right, look,
here's just for reference. Here's an NFL football.
That's the judge.
I'm just.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it looks kind of small.
That's the judge right there.
Here's a 20-ounce bottle. I got Andre the Giant hands.
That looks like
proportional.
That looks like. Have you ever seen that picture of Shaq with like a regular Poland Spring bottle? Like it's just. It looks like something that's like miniature. But yeah,
iPad Pro.
Well,
got some big ones.
Got some mitts. Look, I think the divisional stuff, the week 1 stuff, the stylistic defense that Mike McDonald's going to have, the additions to the defense, I think as well. I understand DeMarcus Lawrence is somebody that 49er fans will just be like, he's washed. You have to think of it in tandem with the line, and you have to think of it. You have to think of it of what his role is and what he's going to do. Like you're not getting the DeMarcus Lawrence that's going to be the game wrecker, but in tandem with that defensive line. Again, like I think it's a lot of like, oh, well, this guy wasn't good for so long, but if you add him to this line, it's the sum of the parts, not the the actual person.
Just think about those Baltimore defensive lines under McDonald. Like, can you name anybody on them?
Calais Campbell. Oh well, Matt.
Yeah, fair. Great counterpoint. Those guys are incredible, but like they didn't have that defensive player of the year standout on the front. It was on the back. Yeah. And you think about like the Minnesota defensive line, like Van Ginkels was their best defensive lineman last year. And listen, it is idiosyncratic. It requires players to be versatile and sort of a jack of all trades, master of none. I'm not sure that the Seattle defense is quite there. I think it's going to be maybe a little bit of a different look than what we've seen in those other cover zero looks in the past, because you do have a Leonard Williams, who we know what he is, because you got a Byron Murphy and you got a Jaron Reed, like what they're about, and you have linebackers that are filling the gaps. But again, that's A, B, and C gap on both sides are covered. Like they got it covered. And even Trent Williams, now you're putting Trent in space, coming off of injuries. Like Trent is as good as it has ever been at that position. They are going to test Trent Williams in this game. And that probably works out well for the 49ers, but it's not going to work out well on every rep. And if this game gets tight, the rep where it doesn't work out, or the 5 reps where it doesn't work out compared to the 20 where it does, might be the difference in the contest, because they're going to be asking Trent, get to that second. They're going to ask your tackles to do a lot of stuff that they haven't really been asked to do in other games, and probably won't be asked to do again for the entire season. And they're going to be asking this guard group, which the interior of the line, like I like Ben Barch a lot. He's wearing an elbow brace. I like Dominic Pooney a lot. I think the book got out on him a little bit last year, and no one really noticed because there was a lot of other stuff going on. But he's coming in. He's going to be wearing a brace. And then you got Jake Brendel, who, still doesn't have an anchor, and you're going to be having the 3 meatiest dudes that you're going to see coming face to face with you snap after snap. Like, that's going to be a huge question mark. And I was saying that the Niners are probably going to have to run more gap stuff, but like, can you against this interior? So it's not exactly a 1-for-1 with Minnesota, and it's not exactly a 1-for-1 with Baltimore, because the secondary is a bit more green, but they got the heft on that front 3, which is healthy and is ready to go for this game. That man, like the counter to, hey, you're putting 5-6 on the line is, okay, we'll run it inside and we'll mix and match and we'll put a fullback in here and he'll be a lead block. We're going to go like full 1950s collegiate offense, right? We're going to run the veer. And I'm not totally sure that you can do that against this Seattle front. And we're going to find out. We're going to find out a lot. This game's going to be, as all games are, one in the trenches. But I'm not sure the game really deviates from the trenches all that often.
Before we get back into the analysis, CMC is in uniform, warming up on the field during early portion of Friday's practice.
And the second the media walks off, he's going into a tent.
We'll hear more from Kyle Shanahan in about an hour. I feel better. I don't feel completely safe. I just one of the latest movies that I just watched that I really enjoyed is Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme. And
is it good?
It's fine. It's not his best.
Is it Wes Anderson?
Of course it is. It's the most
like
Wes. It's the most Wes Anderson movie of all Wes Anderson movies somehow.
I didn't like Wes Anderson. What was that last one where they were like?
It was so bad. What, Asteroid City?
Yeah, that wasn't good, and it felt like somebody had put into like Google Gemini, like, "Hey, write me a Wes Anderson
movie."
So this is the most Wes Anderson of Wes Anderson's. I'll watch it. I'll watch it based on your recommendation, Jason. But I might not like it.
It was fine. It was fine. I wouldn't say go, but the point I was going at is the running joke that Benicio del Toro has. He's the target of assassins, and there's one scene where there is a stick of dynamite on there, and he says, how long until it explodes? He goes 12 minutes. He goes, oh good, we land in 7. He goes, me myself, I feel very safe, and that's what he'll continue to say throughout this. So that's how I feel about CMC, pretty much at this point.
That's pretty good.
It is pretty good. But that's good that we got that. But another thing and this is the elephant in the room right now, and I've seen it talked about a little bit, and I think it just, again, we're talking about PTSD. We're talking about it with Christian McCaffrey. The idea that it may rain in Seattle, oh dear, is something that
Brock Purdy does not have Dieter Kurtenbach hands. Let's put it that way.
No. So I think again,
I hadn't even processed that.
Yeah, like I just okay.
Let me write that down. Oh boy, now I got to do a bunch of research.
I'm not even thinking like again, it's a 40% chance, but again, we're talking about an icky, muddy game that is just going to be, even if it's played in the absolute sun, is going to be that way just based stylistically and off of those things. My God, this layer of it raining. What's the level of rain? It just not only makes you a little bit more worried about this game, but it's just like how much more can you throw on this game that is going to make it. And if you need any more, confirmation that this game is going to be close, just look at the spread. The 49ers are favored 1.5. That's a pick'em. That's essentially a pick'em right there.
It was 2.5.
Yeah, it's
this week.
Well, and they must have got the news about Christian McCaffrey's calf a little bit earlier. But no. Like when I say muddy, Paul, I mean, it was going to be muddy when it's played in the sun because it's going to be
this is trench warfare. Yeah.
It's going to be an icky 21-19, like that type of game. It's going to be annoying in that way. Thank God it's not played on field turf. It was going to be muddy if it's played in Arizona in the sun. What I mean by muddy is annoying, type of game where it's back and forth, battle of wills, who's going to make more plays, who's going to make less mistakes. Now we throw the rain on it. Yeah, and now we throw the rain on it, man. Like, this game, it has to be, and even if it wasn't raining, this had to feel like a game where the 49ers, you're not necessarily afraid of the Seattle offense being explosive on you, unless you have a bunch of coverage busts or unless your run defense is just allowing them to go willy-nilly. And I would have thought the 49ers would have went into this game saying, we're going to run the shit out of the ball this entire game. If it is raining, if it is even raining a little bit, that has to turn into this again because of what it's looked like when it does rain with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, that's not great. I'm getting flashbacks to Christmas 2023, and I didn't enjoy that day. So raining, chaos defense, not a good combination for one Brock Purdy. Also, if you want to just establish it on that baseline, incredible opportunity for Brock Purdy. Like, Brock Purdy has never proven that he can win in the elements. Okay. I don't know if this will be like full bore elements. I don't think it's going to be Santa Clara and December elements. I don't think it's going to be Lambeau. But Purdy has not proven that he can win in heavy elements repeatedly. And
by the way,
I'm looking at 25% kind of drizzly throughout the day. What do you got?
40% from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and that's again Pacific time.
Wheelhouse. And drizzle's one thing versus heavy rain, and is it going to be mucky and humid? Is it going to be cold? Like all that. It's Seattle. Like anyone going to Seattle and expecting good, joyous weather is an idiot. And I spend a lot of time in Seattle, so I can tell you, like, you prepare for the worst and celebrate like it's May Day if it's anything nice for the 12 days a year it is. So I would imagine that the Niners would have had to have been mentally prepared. I mean, it's like it never gets that bad, but it's never good. So it's kind of the opposite of the Bay Area, where it's like it's never really that bad, but it's also like really, really great on the for about 50, 60 days a year. I digress. I'm not a weatherman. So great opportunity for Purdy if you want to put a little glean on it, if you want to put a spin on it, because if there is weather, he'll get to maybe quiet that narrative. And if he can beat a Seattle defense that is chaotic, he'll get to quiet that narrative. And that's a pretty good place to start off if you can, in fact, do those things. It's also probably the worst place to start off if you can't, because then we get to carry it for an entire year. And, I was at least expecting a little bit of cushion before we had to deal with any of that nonsense. I mean, the chaos was coming one way or another, but the weather one is a whole other thing. It's amazing how much time we spend having to fend off Grant Cohn narratives. It's really a shame.
Shit. Oh, man. Oh, my God. Yeah. Damn, this has been a banger of an episode. All right. Look, what I will say is this. Whether it's a little bit of rain, whether it's a lot of rain, I don't know. Again, it's just, like you said, going through all the things that can happen. And then now you're adding this on. And even if it's, what's funny is it doesn't have to rain a lot for the entire game. But if it rains during the time that the 49ers have the football,
right?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Like, again, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen. But it would be so 49ers, because they live in a perfect world and nothing ever goes wrong, that while they have the football and they need they got to have it with passing the football, it's going to be downpouring at that time, right?
Yeah. I mean, it never really downpours in Seattle. Again, we are spending way too much time on the meteorological aspects of this game.
Oh, yeah.
But, does Brock, will we be talking about should Brock have put on a glove after this game? Like, I don't want to do that. And yet here we might have to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that either. So
I just need this game to happen, Jason, because the permutations of all the possibilities are frying my brain. Of course, they're frying them. Because I've run through it, like I'm naturally somebody who's like, okay, and then that could happen, and that could happen. I'm a worst case scenario thinker, which I'm not sure if you've picked up on. And
shocker.
I know. And a naturally anxious, tightly wound person. So, and like that permeates everything that I do. And so having months to think about the Seattle Seahawks, having months to think about what this 49ers team is, like those worst case scenarios, they linger longer. Like the human body feels pain 4 times more than it feels pleasure. So like, the worst case scenarios feel very omnipresent, while the good possibilities feel fleeting. And the McCaffrey thing only adds to that, with, now having to run through all of that spider web. So I just need them to play so that we have clear evidence, because the way that this game plays out in my mind, and has played out in my mind for months now, can go either way. Like, absolutely. But I would take the points, and I would take Seattle in this one, because I just feel like there are far more questions that are being asked of the 49ers in this contest than somehow a team that has a new quarterback, a new coordinator, and a defense that's not fully fledged yet. Like, and yet the Niners feel like more of the mystery box of a team that just doesn't sit right with me. I would probably if I'm giving actual advice, I'd probably just stay the hell away, see how it plays out. I mean, that's general week 1 advice. But like, man, like, shouldn't we be asking a tremendous amount of questions about the Seahawks? And yet we can't, because there's so much weirdness, perpetual weirdness about the San Francisco 49ers with, all right, this is going to piss some people off.
Here we go.
I have maintained, I'm not a spiritual man, but I have maintained that at some point in the 2022 season, 23 season, sorry, that Brock Purdy took the spirit of Russell Wilson. and
Yeah.
has fully embodied it. He is now Russell Wilson. And it hasn't worked out one for one, to be sure, because there's no trophy to stand for it. But the Seahawks were just a constant state of weird for a decade. And Russ would win them 8, 9, 10 games every year because he was doing Russ stuff. You played man-to-man against him because they couldn't separate man-to-man. And then he'd run, and he'd find ways to win, and he'd have guile. And yet somehow all the Seahawks fans hated him. And, like, he was always underrated and overrated at the same time. Like, Purdy is that player to me. Like, he is the white Russell Wilson. He's also doing corny commercials. Like, that's Russ coded. So
a little.
I'm starting to wonder if just the sides have flipped here to where now Seattle is sort of this baseline team that you can set your watch to, and it won't go right for them every year. Mm-hmm. And yet they haven't proven anything, to be fair. Like, this is expounding into the future. And that the 49ers are, in fact, the team that is just exhausting. And they are, in fact, good, but they're exhausting good, and you just can't trust them no matter what. They're the crazy girlfriend. You have a lot of fun when you're with her, and you have a lot of angst when you're just living in the day-to-day. So that's my theory. Brock Purdy is, in fact, just Russell Wilson 2.0. Do not contact me on that take at all.
Speaking of practice gate, Christian McCaffrey is not practicing with his teammates as they go through pre-practice routine. He's working on the side. So
I told you, as soon as the media leaves, he's going to. He didn't even wait for the media to leave.
One player
do we have a large like red lamp that we can fire off? Do we have a siren that we can use here? I mean, maybe we'll just use this. Maybe this is the red alert.
Yeah. And you know, today it was kind of racking my brain about what's the worst level of DEFCON. Just too much information.
It's one.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, it's one.
Clearly.
We're at DEFCON 2.
Oh God! I kind of wanted to. Oh my God! That made me lose exactly what I was gonna say. Oh, here it is. I do agree with you on this part. Not sure I agree with the Russ thing. Just because Russ actually
sit on it. Just let it settle. Every now and again, it will come to you and be like, "Oh man, that's some Russ stuff." That Boots ad. Like, I'm glad that Brock is making money and having fun, man. And I'm not knocking him for it.
Yeah.
In the same way, but like, doing corny commercials is very Russ Wilson-y. Just saying. Just saying.
So, Yetur Gross-Matos is actually participating. Fine, that's not the news you were looking for. But I don't
believe that. He's not a real person.
I didn't want to say. I did want to agree with you on this. The range of outcomes for the 49ers in 2025 far exceeds what the range of outcomes for Seattle will be. Right. Seattle has let's just put their range of outcomes hand size, right? Let's put it here. Okay.
Yeah, they can win 7, they can win 12.
Easy, right? Here's the 49ers range of outcomes. Let's do long arms. Yeah, let's do the long arms here.
I mean, legitimately, like 15 wins or 4.
So much of it depends on injury luck and, again, what the adjustments to the offense are. Is Ricky Pearsall that guy? Can Kittle continue? Like, so much of it's again, being optimistic about the 49ers chances. I'm not mad at you because there is a world where, they go out there and they kick ass.
And now's the time to think about it because 100%. The real world's going to come and tell you something else pretty soon here. So now's the time to feel like they could, because they can. They can. Yeah. They can also do the other thing.
Right, like if you're not going to be optimistic before week 1, you might as well be a Jets fan. I mean, because that's the only other fan base I've ever spoken to where I'm just like, oh my God, you guys have all these good players, and they're like, they're going to shit the bed, like who cares, like.
The problem is they're right.
They are right.
Do you want to feel good or do you want to be right? That's another question we all have to ask ourselves on a daily basis.
Well, do you want to get it right or do you want to be right? Is one of my best, is one of my better, sayings. But like that's the difference between Seattle and the 49ers. I just don't want recent trends in Seattle to cloud your judgment about what can happen in week 1 in Seattle. Again, the 49ers went in there on Thursday Night Football, weren't playing their best football, and then they went in there to kick the shit out of the Seahawks. Cool, man. That's great. I don't know if you can point to that game and the game before that in which Brock Purdy and the 49ers went in there and they whipped their ass again. They had Brandon Ayuk in that game. Everything was rolling in 2023. I don't want those games to try to be indicators for 2025, especially considering it's week one and the difference in the teams. Like, I just want, I guess here's what I'll say. If you're a 49ers fan, you believe that they're going to win this game. I believe they're going to win this game. I think you have a really good reason to believe they're going to win this game. But
Totally.
I want you to consider all the other things and not lose sight of what can possibly happen in this game. And you have to at least look at it a different way. I'm not telling you to change your mind, but I don't want you to just be like, oh, we're gonna roll in there. Like when the schedule came out and Seattle was number one on there, and I'm like, ha, week one, we're starting with a W. But then, you start going through what the changes are, what's going on with your team. I don't want you to just say, hey, the 49ers are going to roll them, because I just don't think that is in the range of outcomes. I just want you to, here's what I want. And this may be asking a little bit too much.
No, ask for what you want. You're never going to get it if you don't ask.
49ers fans, here's what I want. I just want you to temper your expectations. Just dial it back.
Preposterous. What a ridiculous ask.
Just dial it back a little. That's all. I think they're going to win this game. But
what a ridiculous thing to ask.
Just dial it back a little. That's it. Look,
here's
I'm not telling you to poop your team.
Jason, here's the flip side. Here's why you should be asking them to dial it back. Not pregame. It's so that we don't have to listen to the nonsense on the postgame, right? Because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And if you're building this thing up as, oh, it should be easy, what happens when it isn't? Now everybody sucks. And it's like, no, somewhere in the middle, man. It's week one. But yes, that is a great take. Anyone betting on this game does need to call a hotline. Jesus Christ. What a mess this is going to be. What a wonderful mess. Yes.
I mean, that's the thing is week one, divisional game. The stylistic, obviously Salah against Kubiak. This is if I was a casual NFL observer, not a fan of either team, I would be completely locked in on this game because of the coordinator battles. And this is a football sicko's dream right here.
Yeah.
Is Mike McDonald against Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh against Clint Kubiak. I know what you're doing. You know what I'm doing. This is the most fascinating coordinator matchup of the entire slate this week. And I don't think it's particular. Well, unless you want to say Ravens and Bills, which is going to be a really good game on Sunday Night Football. But I don't know, because I think the reason that I lean the Niners and Seahawks is because I know you know me. Can I stop what you're doing? Can you stop what I'm doing? And there's no familiarity other than just playing the Ravens and Bills over and over. This is in-house stuff with Kubiak being part of the boys club with Shanahan. And what can we do? Yeah. Right, and look. Clay against Clint, right? Like we've got brothers and sibling rivalries. Like that's what makes this so fascinating, this game, more than anything.
Yeah, nepotism's incredible, isn't it? So I did like Kyle being like, I like guys who grew up in the league. I feel like it's an advantage. I'm like, oh wow, really? Kyle Shanahan, you believe that? That's a stunner, man. That's not projection at all. And again, this isn't to say in any way that like these guys aren't really, really good. Mm-hmm. But it is always a little bit funny to hear the defensive mechanisms going up on that. And I'm not sure I feel the same way regarding Salah and Kubiak. Like, that doesn't feel as interesting to me because I don't really think that those guys have different kinds of smoke that they can throw off the jump. Mm-hmm. Whereas my frustrations with Kyle when they exist is that I know he can adapt. I know that he can. I know that he knows how to do it. And sometimes he just gets too stubborn to do the adaptation that seems necessary and is certainly proven necessary in the aftermath. And then McDonald's so good, man. And
yeah, he is.
The problem with defensive play calling is that it really does require the dudes, right? Like you cannot defensive play call an average group to be elite, whereas you certainly 100%. Can. And I think we've seen time and time again with Kyle Shanahan that you can take average dudes and turn them into elite, might be a stretch, but very, very good, right? Like top 10, top 7, top 5. So that's where the real battle comes in. And especially too on the basis of We know the problems that Shanahan and Purdy, and I think Purdy and Shanahan need to be considered extensions of each other here, have had against this theory of defense. And we'll find out exactly what that manifests into on Sunday with Seattle, because again, we don't have any idea. And the fact that the Niners can't firmly state what they'll see. They have inklings, they have premonitions, they have ideas, but they don't really know what they're going to see until the game starts on Sunday. I just think that it puts the ball very much in Kyle's court to adapt in a game where I think he's going to be most stubborn of all of them because he wants to establish a foundation. The McCaffrey thing throws a total wrench into it because I'm sure that if you had some game plan, it involved a tremendous amount of Christian McCaffrey. And we'll see if that's something that they can or cannot do. Brian Robinson is not a reasonable replacement for him, right? And how much of last year's game plan, I'll have to go back and look at the reporting and all the transcripts and stuff on this. How much of last year's game plan against the Jets was, oh, damn, like we're not going to have McCaffrey. I guess we better keep it as simple as possible and hope that works because we did not prepare for not having Christian McCaffrey until Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it was. I'll have to go back and look at that. Same sort of thing here, right? Like I'm sure they've been, I know I can speak for a fact. They've been thinking about Seattle and working on little things that will help against Seattle for months. And how much of that revolved around 23, and to even have a limited 23, how much of that just now forces you to get more rudimentary, more baseline, more foundational, and in Kyle's case, probably more stubborn against a defense that is forcing you into uncomfortable positions, even at their most basic. It's awesome stuff. It's absolutely awesome stuff. Great football sicko stuff. And the overreactions are going to be incredible, to be sure.
Yeah. Well, definitely can't wait for that. And here's, again, it's 95-7 the game, but this is what Christian McCaffrey has been seen doing. All of us have turned into amateur, doctors based on what we can see, right? Like, one practice, Christian McCaffrey's lost a step and, oh my God, I'm afraid. And, I think we can, we're not familiar with what's going on with his injury, but we can look at this and say for sure that we know that, oh, we're so back, he's going to play, right? Right, Dieter?
I don't know.
Of course not. I mean, that's the thing.
I know that's what you're laying down and that you were setting me up there, but like, I'm just going to lay on the tennis court while that ball bounces a couple times. Like It is how Kyle phrases this is going to be fascinating.
Yes. And we're not, and one thing also, we're not going to get Kyle Shanahan saying he's going to play 100% on Sunday. No. That's not going to happen.
We might say it. Might be lying. Like 5D chess, right?
Yeah.
It is,
here's what I'll say. I think he's going to say, we're hoping to have him out there on Sunday.
I'm fascinated to see how Kyle plays this.
Yes.
Because that's next. Looking at that, it's like, I don't know. The guy doesn't look like he's got a bad calf.
Right. I mean, exactly. Right. All right. And
I've had bad calves. I can't do that.
I jogged to the liquor store yesterday before 10 o'clock and I woke up this morning with bad calves.
What a sentence. I jogged to the liquor store.
Because it was halftime ended at 9:55 and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I got to get there because in New Jersey everything closes at 10 and you can't go get wine from a CVS or anything like that, right? Anyway.
Oh, right. I forgot about that rule. What a weird state.
Yeah, what the worst when it comes to that. It's literally like the only state in all of the 50 that has that rule. 49ers throwback, thank you for the donation. Jason, Kyle Shanahan is the best offensive play caller according to his peers. Does it surprise you? Happy Friday, take care. Appreciate the donation. It doesn't surprise me, but what I really took away from that, and Dieter, I'll pass it to you because you are the offensive line guy, is everyone talks about understanding that they don't want to face Kyle, and I think we all know that, and I think that, again, scheme-wise, if you need any more proof that the scheme works, why are so many people running it, right? Like, you wouldn't be running something that's broken, right? But the scariest part about that was the fatal flaw that was brought up by the defensive people, and they said it was the protection schemes and how they can
Oh
be
yeah.
beaten, and
Oh yeah.
that's the part that scared. That jumped out more than I know that he's widely regarded in the NFL circles, but for them to say the fatal flaw is protection schemes, like
That's a great
the
point.
helicopters just went across my eyes, and all I could see is Spencer Burford not blocking Chris Jones at the end of that game, Dieter.
So here's how the protection schemes work for the Niners. And I'm fascinated to see if this changes this year. I doubt it will, but it could. It could. It's changing in Houston, where CJ Stroud's going to get to set protections now. And this is why the chaos defenses have so much success against the 49ers. I mean, it's fundamental. The center sets the protection. If that protection is going to err, meaning it's going to let someone run free, instead of resetting the protections or augmenting the protections by bringing somebody else in to block, the 49ers fundamentally believe in letting that happen and throwing it hot so that there is an immediate thing that you do based on where that free rusher is coming from.
The answer is in the play.
The answer is that is right. The answer is in the play. But it isn't anymore. not in a cover 0, cover 6, cover 8 world. It just isn't anymore. And you see when ironically, I keep calling them chaos defenses because you need something to kind of latch onto, but they're also very different. It's a lot of guys at the line of scrimmage. You don't know who's coming, who's going, right? And that's the kind of premise of the chaos defense. Cover 0 being a hallmark of it. The Brian Flores chaos defense is actually pretty simple. They're bringing between 2 and 7, and they're going to play either palms or quarters on the back end of it. Sometimes there will be safeties, sometimes there will not, but you're playing either palms or quarters on the back end of it. And it's the quarterback's job to guess which they're doing after the ball is snapped, and they're having to guess typically while trying to read hot, and that decision on if it's palms or quarters means either a solid play, kind of the high end, because hot is not something that typically results in any big gains unless there's like 5 broken tackles, or it results in absolute flipping disaster because you read it wrong, and guess what? You just threw it to a defensive back, or you just threw it to a linebacker playing the hook. And yeah, that's not great. That's not great. And I have advocated for years, legitimately years, that they should let Brock Purdy set protections and that they should not be so reliant on throwing, or not reliant, like they're not reliant on it, that they should have some other option than just throwing hot. That they should allow, because they don't even really allow audibles. They have checks, but they don't really have audibles. That's not as egregious to me because there's only so much time and there's only so much you can do. And, how's that working out for Aaron Rodgers as of late? But kind of a problem. And it is a fundamental flaw that has shown itself pretty consistently.
In the biggest moments.
If you have the dudes, it ain't that big a deal.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a Deebo Samuel, who, again, is probably going to break those 2 or 3 tackles, it's awesome. Bring it as much as you want. I'm just going to get the ball to Deebo. Jimmy Garoppolo was a passable NFL quarterback who took a team to a Super Bowl based on this premise alone. You want to bring the blitz? Fine. Ball's getting in Deebo's hands, and you're one less guy who can tackle him, and he's going to need about 4 or 5. You want to blitz? Well, guess what? Christian McCaffrey, wheel route out of the backfield. Good luck to you on that. You have man-to-man on the back end. Or you're playing palms because now your back end is just guys who really can't tackle in corners. Good luck with that because that's the hot. You don't have Deebo and you don't have McCaffrey, and you got a guy like Ricky Pearsall, who I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy, that's a little bit different. Juwan Jennings, that's a little bit different. And really interested to see how much Brock Purdy is pointing at the line of scrimmage in this game. Yeah. Because if he's doing a lot of pointing and a lot of yapping on the road in Seattle, so easier said than done, now you know that something has somewhat fundamentally changed in how the Niners go about their business at the line of scrimmage and how they set protections. And I think it would be a worthwhile change. Yeah. There's no way I could get the evidence about that in training camp. No one's going to talk about it preseason.
Nope.
we're going to find out in week 1 and beyond if Brock Purdy, who was being paid more than franchises were worth 10 years ago, if that affords him now the right to set protections at the line of scrimmage. It's not like the guy doesn't know. The guy knows. Kyle won't let him. Yeah. Will Kyle let him? And if he does, I think that the only guy he's ever let do it was Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan won the MVP the year that they let him do it. Here we go.
Yeah. And just a little bit more to the Brian Flores thing. I was so fascinated with what Minnesota was doing, and I thought his superpower, I think everybody believes, is just, hey, we're going to blitz the shit out of you all game. No, his superpower is disguising quarters and palms, showing you something, and you think it's this, and all of a sudden, post-snap, it changes so fast.
You're having to read the entire field in the 2 seconds you have to make a throw. And they know that they're going to get you 4 or 5 times, and that 2 or 3 of those they're going to capitalize, and it's going to flip the game.
Yeah, that's high level shit right there, honestly. That's the stuff that when you look around, I mean, it's not fun when I watched it against the 49ers because I just, I bet it is. But look, again, and talking about the things earlier on when I was citing the numbers about what Brock struggled with in 2024, and to be fair, it wasn't necessarily just Brock, it was the entire 49ers offense when they struggled against man, right? Is the cover one looks of you've got 2 safeties and then the robber comes down and he's taking away the crosser, and you thought again, what you see pre and post snap is going to be fascinating, and what Mike McDonald is going to be able to do here. Like, again, they don't have the roster that they had in Baltimore, but the plan still can be good enough to be able to force a few of those throws that like what my co-host called it when Jimmy Garoppolo oh no throws, like like if you get a few of those in a game where things are going to be like, this game is going to come down to who makes more plays and who makes less mistakes. Now, asking that of Sam Darnold is going to be very interesting, and that's kind of where the 49ers have to, on defense, take advantage of that one ball that's going to end up in their belly. By the way, I'm a sicko. I've got my money on D. Winters with an interception. I'm just joking. There's no prop bet for that.
That's a decent thought, because the other thing that has been pretty clear, or at least I've heard from folks who I trust on this matter,
that he's the best cover. He's the best coverage linebacker?
No, I'm not talking about that. That's some grade A BS.
All right.
Here, the Niners are going to want to play a lot of base in this game, because that effectively gives them the 5th defensive lineman in a 4-3 over.
Get ready for Luke Gifford.
That's right. And in that, you can kind of get some width, even though width has never been their issue. So regardless, if I'm a team running a Kubiakian offense, particularly one that's going to use 12 personnel a lot, which is going to be the buzzword of the 2025 season across the league, 12 personnel. You're just hitting the flats. You're hitting the hook spot again and again and again, because you want those 2 linebackers, Gifford or Martin, probably Gifford, and Winters. You want them one-on-one as many times as possible, and I just think it's going to be easy money until the Niners figure out a way to shut off the faucet.
Dieter, thank you so much.
So the D. Winters INT is a great pick.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, no, and I think what I mean by that too is they're going to want to run play action. So when his back's turned, you see one thing. When his fronts, when he's fronting the defense, obviously something's going to be different. Not seeing that underneath linebacker, I'm just going to bet on one of those Jimmy Garoppolo straight to the linebacker interceptions. It's a great bet. Yeah. All right, Dieter, thank you so much for your time, man. We try to keep it under an hour, but this conversation
it will never happen with me.
It's not going to happen. All right. Well, I'm very glad that you donated your time as well too. Shout out to everybody in here. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Dieter, tell them what you got going on before this game finally happens on Sunday, and we can stop. I'm done with content as of 4:15. I'm gonna be done with this. I don't want to talk about this game anymore. I've done enough.
I have so much coming.
I love how funny your hair looks now. Like you're just like.
That's how I feel. Some proper representation. Thank you to Christian McCaffrey for making sure that I'm going to work the rest of the day on my.
You sure are. Oh yeah.
That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Everything's good. At Dieter on Twitter. You can DIETER. It's all going to go there. So you can go there.
All right. Awesome. Dieter, thank you so much. Thank you guys. Everybody, enjoy Ooh, Kyle Shanahan's about to speak. I guess I'll say enjoy your weekend.
Let's get off of here before we get riots.
Right. Yeah, just all right. I'm gonna go watch Kyle's press conference. I'm sure we're gonna have some real clarity. I'm obviously being sarcastic, but enjoy the rest of your Friday. Appreciate you guys as always. Hopefully we'll get back next week. Let's see Dieter's schedule. But Dieter and Jason, we're out of here.